What's happening, church? Welcome to Deep Dive Live. Tonight we are coming to you, picking up where we left off, Matthew chapter 10, verse 1. But before we get too deep into that, I want to say shalom and welcome to all you who are joining us on the live stream or watching on the rebroadcast. I really do appreciate you being here tonight. We are going to be in Matthew 10:1 out of the New King James Version of the Bible. I'll be working with the blueletterbible.org. They're a web-based service, which is free, and so is their app. But you could use, any Bible that you've got, honestly, even one that's printed on paper, if you remember what those were. Dating myself. One thing before we get started, like I always try to do, if you have a prayer request, if you have a need, if you have a situation that you would like some help praying about, please feel free to leave that either in the chat or in the comments below. If you feel more comfortable with something a little more private, comes directly to me. I'm the only person that has access to it. And so if you have something that you'd like me to join together with you, I'd be more than happy to do that. Excuse me, let me take a drink real quick. Oh, that's good. I had Elsa facing right towards the camera. Let's see if I can't fix that. Nope, it's going to be one or the other. Sorry. I've got kids, and so I just, drink what's clean. That's not the point. We're not talking about me here. This is not about me. Um, but one thing that is, I guess, about me, there's a couple of prayer requests I'd like to bring before you. My brother and my younger brother's father-in-law both are facing different but major surgeries, and they have life altering consequences. So, if you could keep those two, Wayne and Steve, if you could keep them in your prayers, I would greatly appreciate it. Um, but again, if you anytime you have a request, or comment or whatever, just feel free to speak up. How about that? All right, let's go ahead and go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day that you've given us today. Thank you for the opportunity to come into your house and come to worship you, because wherever we are, we are your temple. And as we come together, you says where two or three will agree together in your name, that there you'd be in the midst, Lord. And as we see each other and hear these words over time and over technology, I know that your spirit still goes with it, because your word is alive and is active, and it reaches to the very core of our soul. And I pray that today, as we study your word, that you'd open up my mind and understanding. Give me the words to say, the information to relay, that you would have relayed, not my interest, but what your will is. And we ask all these things in the name of your Son, Yeshua, we pray. Amen. All right, folks. So let's go ahead and, boo-booed. Yep, I boo-booed. Sorry. I boo-booed. There we go. Did I unboo-boo myself? I unboo-booed myself. All right, let's get started. Oh my gosh. I had to work late. That's the story I'm going with. Has nothing to do with it. Now, this is where Yeshua, hang on one second. I might have a dog problem here in a minute, but we'll work on it. Kennel, now. Okay, that solved it. And when he, Yeshua, Jesus, had called his 12 disciples to him, he gave them power over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all kinds of sickness and all kinds of diseases. So I definitely want to take a look here at what they are looking at as unclean spirits. Just as a curiosity to see what they. Oh, unclean, foul. Okay, not cleansed, unclean. All right. Well, that's not really impure, ceremonially, morally, lewd, or especially demonic. All right. So what we have here, the reason why I like using this program is if we're down here under Thayer's Greek Lexicon, and that not only deals with how the word is used in the Bible, but also has in other Greek texts how the word is used and how it's actually defined. And so it gives us sometimes it gives us a little bit more insight as to the what the idea is behind it. But now, one thing, if you have watched this channel very long, you know one thing that I like to do is I like to track it back down to the Greek. And so, um, usually, what you can do is when you go to your, and I really should not have got out of that word, is you go to your Greek word, and if you go all the way down to the bottom of the page, it tells you how that word is used in the Septuagint. LXX is Septuagint. And then what we can do is when we find it in the Old Testament, then we can back translate that to Hebrew to get an idea of what we're looking at here. So this is a person touches something that's dead, 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 dead. Wow. Okay, so that's going to be happening a lot because that's through Leviticus. So we're again. I'm not 100% sure we even have an Old Testament representation of the idea of being possessed or being demonically possessed. Um, yeah, wow. Leviticus uses that word like all the time. All right, there's Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. The Torah is going to be a repeat. Um, so let's, and then there was basically that said something in Judges there. Anything unclean, anything unclean. This is in every one of these cases so far. This is literally dealing with something that is unclean by Levitical standards. And so this is unclean as meaning not able to go into the temple. And so there's a kind of a lift of that. Um, but let me see. It kind of looks like that in Proverbs the word becomes abomination. Is that possible? Oh, that is. I'm sorry, I forgot you were there. Um, I do these cold, and so when I'm going through, oh, good grief, I keep pushing the wrong button. There we go. This is the button I want to be pushing, and I've never an abomination. Seriously, wow, abominable. In a ritual sense, and this would make sense with like we're seeing previously, we're seeing all these references to temple cleanliness. So you have a ritual sense, and then an ethical sense, and then it's just wickedness. And so, wow. Okay. Well, again, lost in translation. It is a problem that we do have to deal with, and that is really the primary purpose for most of the things that I'm doing here on this channel is to put the words into their proper context. See, what we have here, and many people, it's hard to really kind of get your head wrapped around, but this your Bible was translated on these Greek words. These Greek words right here, that's how your Bible was translated. Well, you can go right to the Greek word. And look, it even tells you what it means. Gives you its person. Um, and it looks like it may even, some of them may even gives you the voice of it. And so you don't have to rely on what someone else thinks or what someone else says. When you see something and it doesn't make sense to you, you can look for yourself. And again, it's the reason why I do it in this kind of format is because it is to be, I want it to be educational to the viewer in that they can see that, hey, I can do this too. Look, this guy's fumbling through it, totally cold, and look at all the stuff we're uncovering. And so you can do it. You can do it. All right. I guess I need a baseball cap on for that. There's a deep dive for you. Matthew 10:2 says, now the names of the 12 apostles are this. Obviously, he has already called them by now. Now, these apostles these are the inner circle. These are the closest people. And as we go through here, we'll see that there was more than just these 12. Now, the name of the 12 apostles are these: first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother. Those four guys were in business together. Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector. Remember, we've mentioned before that a tax collector is a whole special kind of sinner, but that's who Matthew was, but he was still following. James, the son of Alphaeus, and Lebbaeus, whose surname was Thaddeus. Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. Now, what's this going to say? Kind of Nean. Okay. Well, I mean, considering how it's pronounced in Hebrew, that would actually be more correct, except they don't use that. The ending, of being an Ian, of being part of, someone's place or country. You're an ite. Judas, who was from this area, and Iscariot is the transliteration, basically, of the town that he was from, Iscariot. Um, but he was the one who eventually sold him out, and the Bible tells us pretty clearly that Jesus knew from day one that he was going to do that thing. So now what we have, again, the 12 have been called previously to chapter 10. At some, Matthew doesn't really address it, but he says that he calls 12, and he tells these 12 Jesus sent out and commanded them, saying, "Do not go into the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter a city of the Samaritans." Now, there were Gentiles who lived in the area, the Canaanites, and virtually everyone else that wasn't a Samaritan or a Jew is a Gentile. So you're a Samaritan who roughly has its origins in Judaism. And then you have the Gentiles who are completely removed from the God of the Bible, which is everyone else. So again, just these three groups. But go into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, this, I know this for many of us, this is going to sound like the Jewish nation, and that's not who this is. This is actually to the house of Israel. It's the 10 northern tribes that were scattered throughout the region, and that is who Jesus says he is called to. He's sending them to do it, and then he gets asked at some point, and he says, I'm only come to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." And so what he's saying is I'm coming to get back those that are lost. See, because Judah and Benjamin were right there. They were right there. They were the choir. There was no reason to preach to the choir because they were right there. Now, they did need the scriptures fully explained, but they were pretty much, they were a lot closer than the northern tribes, which I'm totally guessing and assuming, but after this long, I'd say they pretty much had adopted whatever religion was in the country they lived in. And that was not cool. Jesus wasn't okay with that. And so that's why he came to preach to them. And he says, "And as you go, preach, saying the same thing I said when I came on the scene, and the same thing that John said when he came on the scene, which is the kingdom of heaven is at hand." Now, these are instructions that we as New Testament believers are supposed to be doing as we fulfill this commission. That now this, excuse me, these people, these disciples, because this is directions specifically to the 12, they are to heal the sick, they are to cleanse the lepers, they are to raise the dead, cleanse the leper. Okay. But this idea of raising the dead is going to be reiterated later on, if not in one of the other gospels. Cast out demons. There it is. Cast out demons. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a very specific definition of what they are calling demons. Is it Are they literally talking about? Yeah, check that out. 59 times it's defined as the devil, but once it's as a lowercase god. It says, now, my view of Lucifer's role has changed over the years. And so that's why I'm kind of running down this rabbit trail a little bit, because I really want to understand who the enemy of man's soul is. So it is the divine power, the deity, the divinity, which I guess being an angel, a little the divine, I don't deity, divinity. I wouldn't go with that. As spirit, being inferior to God, superior to men, that does fit the biblical definition because it says that a man is a little lower than the angels, but that is, I'm not sure that's exactly what that means because, again, I haven't looked into it deeply. And it's evil spirits or the messengers and ministers of the devil. So these are literally angels for the devil. So, okay, so we are looking at this supernatural being that lives in a dimension probably one step or two steps above ours. Probably where we'll be when we die and when we get our new body, that will probably be the next step in up the dimensional ladder. I mean, you don't have to agree with that, but I think that to me it's a logical sense because if you look at the 10 dimensions that actually was predicted in 12 or 1300, I believe by Rashi, great rabbinic commentator, um, that he said because the 10 statements that are made in Genesis, which is the creation of the universe as we see it, he believed there was 10 dimensions and that every command added a new dimension. Well, if you look at string theory and the multiverse theory, they have a 10-dimensional model, 11 if you count zero, but that's only if you count zero. But there's a 10-dimensional model, and the 10th dimension puts you in a place where you can be at all places and at all times in every dimension and have complete and total ability to manipulate everything around you. Kind of sounds like God. But, what do I know? Now, is it now it casts out demons. Now here's a command. Freely you have received, freely give. Okay? Don't charge anybody. Don't take any money. Don't charge anybody. Don't take any money. You are going to stand in faith. It's saying, provide neither gold, nor silver, nor copper in your money belts. Those were all metals used for exchange. And probably might have been those exactly, but that's the idea. Nor bag for your journey, nor two tunics, nor sandals, extra sandals, or staffs, for a worker is worthy of his food. Okay, well, let's take a little look here. Now, this is how I know it. Nor script, neither two coats. Sorry, I'm trying to read around my camera. Neither shoes nor yet staves, for the workman is worthy of his meat. Let's see, there's a New Living Translation that says, do not hesitate to accept hospitality because those who work deserve to be fed. Now, see, they brought in this whole idea of uh, uh, accepting or rejecting what was being given to you. And let me see, I don't really see, yeah, nobody else is saying that. NASB, here we go. Check this out. So the NASB 20 says, for the worker is deserving of his support, but the NASB 95 does not include the word deserve. So we're going to jump down here to Young's Living. It says, nor script for the way, nor two coats, nor sandals, nor staff, for the worker is worthy of his nourishment, of his food. And here's the Darby is nourishment. So yeah, my take on it is that yeah, this is food that because the Bible does teach us that with food and clothing that we are to be content. And so if you have your one, because you're going to have one, not two, you're going to have one tunic, you're going to have one pair of sandals, you're going to have your one staff, you're going to have clothing. You're not going to walk around freaking naked. That's completely unacceptable from a biblical perspective, just to be honest with you. Um, all you need to worry about is where are you going to sleep and what are you going to eat. And if you are doing work, someone's going to feed you. And if you're working well and working throughout the day, they will put you up for the night because that's the hospitality of the Middle East. It's not something we have here in the United States, but in the Middle East, if you had someone working with you all day and you knew they didn't have anywhere to go and you did not let them stay at your house, your neighbors might come and burn your ass down. That was completely flippin' unacceptable because you put that person's life at risk by not giving them a place to sleep when you had it. The operative is not doing for people when you have the opportunity to do for people. So Matthew 10:11 says, now whatever city or town you enter, inquire who in it is worthy. What do you mean worthy? Let's find out what this worthy means. My dogs are gnawing on each other. Sorry if you can hear that. So let's go to Strong's. Um, deserving, comparable, or suitable, as if drawing praise, due reward, meet, which actually means like make ends meet. It's not, you know, like hi, drawing. Therefore, okay, so this is the origin is drawing down the scale, weighing, having weight, with the genitive having the weight of another thing of like value worth as much. So we again, the reason why I like to go back to these references is just as literally as a point of clarification of what does worthy mean. Well, based on what? Worthy based on what standard? What's the criteria? And so what they are looking for is people like them. They're looking for people like them and stay there till you go out. Now, when you go into a household, greet it, you know, again, manners and protocol. This is first century protocol. And like if you came into someone's house and they want you to take your shoes off, you take your shoes off. You dust your feet off. You take your wet clothes, you know what I mean? You act like a civilized human being. If the household is worthy, then let your peace, let your shalom is the actual word that we're looking at there, come upon it, which is almost, not almost is, it could be viewed as a blessing. But if it is not worthy, then let your blessing return to you. Just keep it. Just hang on to it. For whoever will not receive you, whoever will not take you in, that's one thing, or listen to what you're saying, when you depart from that house or city, shake off the dust from your feet, and assuredly I say to you, it will be more tolerable for them, for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. One thing that when you're, again, this is a Middle Eastern insult, is to shake the dust off in view of a person is to say that I don't want to take any part of this place with me effectively. There's also like throwing their shoe at you, smacking you in the face with their shoe. That's a pretty bad insult for obvious reasons. It's, you know, a nasty freaking shoe. And you know, though you took your shoes off, obviously because the sand and everything that was involved in the travel and all that stuff. When you walked into a tent, you took your shoes off, and that's why the foot washing and all that stuff was all kind of necessary for living in that kind of environment. But I want to point this out to you. It says, "Surely I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of where Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city." Well, What does Sodom and Gomorrah have to do with a person being inhospitable to a messenger of the gospel? Well, if we do a study into what actually got Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed, it was because they were inhospitable to travelers. You remember what they tried to do to the dudes that showed up? That ain't cool. That's not cool, not in any way, shape, or form. And that there's a history that they have. The five cities of the plain had a history of abusing strangers who came to the town expecting safety. So when you, as a minister, this is what he's saying to the 12, you as a minister, when you go into these towns and someone rejects you or rejects what you're teaching, this is what it's going to be more tolerable for their land, the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, than it would be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than for these cities that reject. And then, of course, you see if you go through. Honestly, I'm not trying to be mean. I guess it is. It's just the truth. But if you look through history, you see what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah was basically what happened to Jerusalem in 70 A.D. was they burned it to the ground. One, two of the first century eyewitnesses who saw it said that if you didn't know better, you would have never known that a city stood there before. They call that razing it to the ground, RAZE. So, all right, let's see here. Persecution's coming. All right, I am going to have to stop here. I think I may have already planned on stopping here because it is almost 6:30. We're going to pick up tomorrow with persecutions are coming. In contradiction to many denominations, the life of a believer is a life full of struggles and trials and hardships and walking a narrow road and carrying your cross and carrying other people's burdens. That's the life of a believer. Life of a believer is not, I get to do whatever I want and get away with it and everything is fine and then I'm going to go to heaven and sit on a puffy cloud and play a harp. No, most likely you will split hell wide open and you'll stand before God and you'll give all these accolades of things that you did. And he's going to look at you and go, oh, wow, that's funny. I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness, those who transgress the instructions of God. That's what that means. There's no other definition for it, no matter what you try to make up. But we're not going to talk about that right now because I am trying to wrap things up. So thank you so much for stopping in. I really do appreciate it. If you ever have any questions or comments, like I said, feel free to drop those off at tgikquestions at gmail. There it is, gmail.com. If this is content that you enjoy, please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps grow the ministry and also helps bring the community together. The end result of this YouTube channel, if God will allow me, is to bring together a body of believers that can actually come and worship Yeshua in his name and in his instructions. So, all right, folks. Yeah, I guess that is it. I will see you. See, today's Tuesday, so I will see you tomorrow night at 6:00, and we'll pick up in Matthew chapter 10, verse 16, and we'll see where it takes us. All right, guys. Love you. And I almost forgot. Holy cow, Batman. I almost forgot. See, I was just that close. Just that close. All right, guys. I can't see for all my lights and stuff. Oh, Lord help me get a studio. All right. I love y'all. I will see you tomorrow night. Bye.